Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Jamz with Joe, Shak and Sam, where we exchange the songs we listened to the most this week, and then we chat about them. So, let's jam.
My song this week was Bobby by Alex G, a single leading up to the release of his new album, Rocket. He's a young Philadelphia singer-songwriter known for his breakout album, DSU, which was a little bit lo-fi, a little bit indie, a little bit emo. It's nice stuff.
So what you were saying there about it being lo-fi and emo, those were like two of the things I immediately noticed about the track. But when it first started and the violins kicked in, I thought I was in for a country track.
It does have definite country vibes.
Massive country vibes. So the first thing I kind of asked myself was like, am I in for some like emo country? Which is nice. Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone put a kind of country sound to the emo genre.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd consider this within the Midwest emo kind of actual sound. I don't know, maybe.
But throughout the whole track, like, there's a really natural lo-fi vibe that we were talking about, and it really helped me kind of engage with the track on a more emotional level, because like I'm not sure how many people would be aware, if they're more kind of casual music listeners, if that there is like a distinction between the Midwest emo sound and the kind of very high production My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy style of emo
Pop.
Yeah, this definitely falls more on the side of American football or so brand new as well. I thought the thing that the song was actually discussing was kind of typical emo source material, this kind of pining for a relationship from another person, themes of depression, uncertainty. But the performance here, particularly in the vocals, and I thought it was just very tasteful really, as were the lyrics. And the only kind of real negative that I could draw on the track is that I felt that it kind of ended suddenly. But apart from that, the vocal performances are where this track really shines, the interplay between the two vocalists. And it's just a very tasteful, nice emo track with a bit of country vibes.
See, I still wouldn't consider emo to be like its primary genre. Like I'd consider its primary genre to be like indie folk music. That's what it feels the most like to me, in terms of like other artists who might sound a little similar.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, as you said, we've got male-female harmonies here, which is my weakness, as you know, when it's executed well, and I'd say it is executed well here. Female vocals and the male vocals have this kind of folky quirk to them. It's very much flat harmonizing. It's not like they're really playing around with big ranges of octaves, but it works well because of the overall kind of indie folky vibe. I really like the antique sounding. I think they're violins from the beginning.
Yeah, I thought they were violins as well.
Yeah, pretty sure they are.
Yeah. They come in at the beginning, and then they come in again at the second run of the whole.
The second chorus.
Yeah, well, it's kind of more. Well, yeah, like a refrain.
I'd leave him for you.
It changes every time they do it.
Yeah.
I'd blank him for you if you want me to. But yeah, it adds a really nice added layer to that refrain. And then on the third repeat, the violin changes up its melody and it gets even more kind of emotionally captivating, which is cool. As you've said, there is a country vibe, even though you wouldn't call it a country song, really. There is definitely a country vibe. I think it's a lot to do with that really simple acoustic-y riff that goes through the whole thing.
It was the violin tone as well that set it up for me right from the get-go.
Yeah, they're very
nice and southern sounding.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you really picture like patch jeans and straw hats and all that shit when you listen to it.
Yeah, I pictured a kind of performance in a barn, actually.
Yeah, defo. or like what they call them, rodeos.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the kind of stuff. It's the kind of stuff I don't really expect you to like, Joe. Like, it seems too like poppy and straightforward, I guess, and like very folky.
I've got nothing against a bit of folk.
It's not. I guess it's just not what I see you listening to very much.
It's like first ever Sunday Jamz you submitted. Is it Joni Mitchell?
Joni Mitchell, yeah.
No, that wasn't the first ever one.
The first recorded.
That's the first
one
ever
we did.
recorded. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of the song as a whole, I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's majorly special in the context of all the indie folk that exists in the world, but I think it's enjoyable, and I'd listen to the upcoming album off the back of the track.
I can recommend his previous projects as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've only listened to the one album, DSU, and I enjoy it a lot. It's not a complex song. I feel like you two have kind of gone over all of the intricacies near enough. I like how kind of sad and dreary, the country vibes with the banjo and the violin and everything. It just sounds kind of it sounds really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how youthful sounding the vocals are. And how that goes with the kind of cliche, not cliche, but like
just typical.
It's a bit typical. It sounds like something a teenager would write.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reading it, it was talking about how there might be like dual meanings to some of the lyrics, like that Bobby might actually be like a figurative other version of the narrator themselves.
Maybe.
Them in a depressed state, perhaps.
Yeah, and they're like, I'll leave that behind. I'll leave behind my depressed state for you, type thing.
Yeah, I like Alex G's vocals. I like how it almost sounds kind of lethargic. It sounds very teen. And I like how it's not oversung. Like, it does sound humble.
I think that's the main thing that gives the slight emo vibe, is the teeny thing about it.
Yeah, definitely. I like the refrain and how it changes and how it keeps coming back to it, and the violin adds to it every time, and the harmonies are really nice, even though they're not like complex, crazy singing harmonies. They're just nice and simple. They just work really well. And I know what you mean in that it's not
you'd be expected to like.
Yeah. I feel like this has everything in it for it to be something that I could like, though.
I guess it's just the fact that I didn't find it that. Usually you seem to gravitate to things that are kind of different within their genre, and this felt quite typical of the genre. It was
yeah. But part of that might come from how I just don't really listen to this genre that much.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe the more I get into the genre, the more I'll start to appreciate the unique anomalies within it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things are unique, that's what really sticks out to me. A lot of the time. It's a nice, simple, emotional song. Yeah, that's why I picked it.
My song is called Chok Hung by Norwegian ambient electronic producer guy who goes by the name Biosphere. Yeah, he's made a fair few ambient albums. I think this was one of his earlier albums. But yeah, that's it really. Just ambient music, man.
Immediately, the atmosphere is like huge. There's like this pulsing, deep sound that sounds, it's like it's almost underwater or something. Like, it sounds almost like sonar pulsing.
Right.
You know, like how when they send out sound waves to like map out their surroundings.
Yeah.
That's the vibes I was getting. And then like you can hear something looping it sounds like it's like really far away. It's in the distance, like, and coming closer really slowly. At first I thought it sounded like some kind of like jangly guitar riff or something.
I think it is a guitar riff. I think it is a guitar riff.
Yeah, like I didn't know what it was at first, but then like it gets clearer and it's like just like this weird like looping snippet of like a melody, like just like a snippet of a riff like on loop.
Yeah. That's what I think it is. Yeah,
and I thought it sounded kind of oriental as well, which might go with the name of the song.
Possibly.
By the time I could hear it clearly, I wasn't even sure if it was a guitar. Yeah, and then I like just how it fades out, and when it comes back in, it builds, and on top of it, there's these like muffled, glitchy sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they are. Is it probably just like synth or something?
Mm-hmm. He uses a lot of like field recording, so he'll use like real sounds and fuck with those as well.
Okay.
So it could be some of that as well in there.
Yeah. By that point, when those glitchy bits are coming in, I thought it sounded quite futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
In like a not dystopian, but like a minimalist futuristic sound.
Could say near future then.
Just not like hyper futuristic, just like, I don't know, it's hard to explain what I mean. And having just seen the Ghost in the Shell remake, which I recommend, this song gave me similar vibes to that, with that weird, cold, almost dystopian, minimalist,
Yeah, I can see what
futuristic vibe. And I thought that this song could have fit in perfectly as a backdrop to some of the scenes in that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just it creates such an atmosphere.
Unsurprisingly, I think his music has been used in like films and shit.
Yeah,
before.
I can definitely see it being used as soundtrack material.
Yeah, a lot of ambient music has that potential.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this song. Usually, I like my music to be a little bit more eventful and melodic and catchy, because I feel like I have a short attention span when it comes to a lot of things. I don't know. I feel like the image that this created and the feeling and everything was enough to keep me interested for like, how long is it? It's like 7 minutes.
7 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. It's a pretty long song.
Yeah, I feel like building off from that, like you say, like usually you want something a bit more captivating, but I feel like there is something, even though it is an ambient track, there is quite a few really like attention demanding, like you say, the really pumping, explosive, kind of expansive primary synth. It's quite like overwhelming. Like you can't just kind of like just ignore it like some like ambient songs. You could kind of just totally zone out, but it feels like it's quite attention grabbing, the noises that he uses here.
Yeah,
I'm really not sure if I agree with that. One of the things that I felt while listening to it is that it's a song that like would definitely demand your full attention, as most ambient music does, but I'm really not sure if there were any elements in here that necessarily grab that attention past like the opening section, because it feels like a track, to me anyway, that doesn't quite warrant being as long as it does. Like, it achieves its mood extremely well early on, but I didn't feel like there was sufficient evolution of sound to really justify its length. Like, I feel like I'd much rather it was like maybe 5 minutes or something, because I do like the subtle warps that happen to the bass elements, where there's like a slight echo or its pitch is changed. And I did get like a constant feeling of unease about the track. And it's probably something you probably shouldn't listen to late at night, because you'll probably get very spooked by it. And yeah, just extreme isolation. It was creepy, but it kind of wore off for me very quickly.
I feel like evolution of sound is like, it's just not what you get in this genre. Like, an ambient piece usually is quite a looping experience, and they're usually quite long songs because it's trying to kind of have the feeling of droning on. Like, if this was like a 3-minute piece or something, then it wouldn't have the kind of lumber that it has now, because it goes on for so long. It's kind of like it's like a 7-minute loop, so it becomes quite heavy. But go on.
I feel like if a song like this changed up more, it would like become something completely different.
Well,
like,
this is the thing. I didn't necessarily want an evolution of sound per se, but like, if you're gonna have something that's maybe 8 minutes long, like, I'm not huge on drone, and ambient requires something to be very particular for me to like it, and this just didn't tick either of those boxes for me.
Yeah, I think ambient, I wouldn't really call it drone. It's just that it has that kind of droning quality because of how long it goes on for. And I think a lot of the acclaimed kind of celebrated ambient releases are extremely long. Like they're like 2.5 hour long albums, and every song is like 10 minutes and shit like that. Like Stars of the Lid, who are probably like the most celebrated ambient group, or at least one of them, with like Tim Hecker. Stars of the Lid have both their big albums are so long, and the songs are like really long. And I think it's because, like I say, I think it's like it's not that they're trying to make drone music. It's just that it's trying to, I guess it's just trying to have a droning feeling to it in a sense where it's like it like I say, it kind of lumbers on, I suppose, instead of just being a short experience. They kind of want it to be, I don't know, they just want it to be a longer feeling, I think.
I don't feel like it was too long personally.
Yeah, personally, like in my personal experience of actually listening to the song like kind of flies for me. Like I don't know why. It's like it's not like it's a short song, obviously, but it's just like I don't know. It doesn't feel long when I listen to it.
No,
It doesn't feel 7 minutes.
I'm surprised how well it kept my attention
Mm.
for how barren it is.
I definitely didn't expect that from you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have either.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed it. Good track.
As I was just building off of what I was saying earlier, I feel like there are elements of this that demand attention more than your average ambient piece, or more than a lot of other ambient music I've listened to does. One being the primary synth. I mean, even compared to the rest of the album, this is definitely one of the more kind of overt tracks that's quite a lot more in your face. And I think the main reason is that really booming, pulsing synth, but also that really, like you talk about, the really ominous guitar. And the way they trade together, it kind of adds a musical dimension to it, I feel. Like a lot of the time, ambient music isn't very quote-unquote musical, but I feel like this weird looping guitar and the synth, there's something kind of musical about it.
I think something that actually threw me about the guitar is that it gave me really big Chroma Key Dreamcoat vibes, which is a Boards of Canada track. And that specific tone sounds almost mirrored here. I was like, that's a bit odd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe boards were influenced by.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I wouldn't consider this to be a straightforward ambient track. Like, even though it is, I mean, there's no other genre I'd put on it, but it's still a bit. There's something a bit more about it than like a lot of the other ambient music or even the other songs on this album. Like I say, for me, there's just something a bit more overwhelming about the experience of listening to this song compared to some of the ambient songs that quite sit very nicely in the background.
Yeah, I think that's what puts me off about a lot of ambient stuff, is because like there's nothing you can actually put your finger on. It's just like a fog.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is actually, you can make out shapes in this fog. Like
Yeah,
there's actually something to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like aimless sounding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy a lot of ambient. I do enjoy that kind of more aimless ambient stuff as well. But this, for me, is a standout ambient track of all the ambient I've listened to. So it's definitely a plus. This kind of more active, more direct approach with some of the sounds. It's definitely a plus. I like the way there's basically just two key features. You've got the kind of weird, ominous guitar loop, and you've got the huge synth. And I like how sometimes one will fade away and the other will be there. Sometimes the other will fade away and the other one will be there. Most of the time they're together, but they kind of trade off in a way. And that creates, and I think the way they do that, I don't know, it feels like the atmosphere's, the landscape is growing through the way they trade off, and also through the little bits that are on top, the little glitchy bits of stuff, the slight tweaks and changes. I feel like it creates this idea of it kind of growing, but not in a kind of linear way. I kind of have like a kind of expanding ball in a sense. Like everything's still the same, but it just feels like in a way it's kind of getting bigger. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain it. And I remember telling you guys that I thought this would sound best on like 6 speakers. And I feel like the reason why is because the song, because of that, the booming, the big pulsing synth, the song feels like it has like a heartbeat to me. Like, and like the depth of that recurring synth sound, or I don't even know if it's a synth, but whatever that electronic sound is, the depth of that sound is really like, I don't know, it kind of gets under your skin in a way. Like it's kind of weird when you turn it up really loud. Like it's a real like room filler of a song.
I've only listened to it through headphones, but yeah, I bet I'd feel that bass.
Yeah, I would try all that. I'd try all that experience. Really love the track. Sets out to me perfectly the kind of ambient vibe, whilst also being able to offer a bit more that further interest. So yeah, love it. Great song.
My track this week is The Sleep of No Dreaming by Porcupine Tree. So 2017, I think, is going to be a great year for me as a music fan. Like, I've already had new Gorillaz, new Kendrick, and the promise of new Steven Wilson. So Wilson, best known as the front man of Porcupine Tree, English progressive rock / metal group. He's been putting out some pretty great stuff as a solo artist, his best work being The Raven That Refused to Sing, in my opinion. So, in anticipation for his new material, I went back to some early Porcupine Tree.
You're a big fan of Mr. Wilson, aren't you, Sam?
I do like a bit of Wilson.
This was already one of my like top 5 Porcupine Tree songs. I already love this track. My favourite song on the album. And it is one of my favourite Porcupine Tree songs. So there was no surprises going into this song. The organ, the way it fuses with his kind of really melodic, sensitive vocal lick in the verse, has a really like chill and a really comforting vibe to listen to, which is good because I think one of Wilson's strengths is when he's has that chillness going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a real epicness in the progression of the chords in the chorus. Feels almost like a snippet from like a post-rock crescendo. The chorus guitars, like they feel like the climax of some big build-up, but you never got the build-up, which is quite interesting. I think it's cool. Like I think it's a really to just throw you into a crescendo like that from the really chill verse. I think is a really effective way of just structuring a song.
Well, see how I read that structure is that we're kind of joining the protagonist on his life. So from the very beginning, he abandons childish ideals and stuff like that. And I read The Sleep of No Dreaming as the idea of abandoning that, so that you will no longer dream, rather than death. And the chorus just seems to be an echo of how deep this protagonist has got into the sleep of no dreaming, with like the final chorus obviously being the most kind of bombastic, because he is fully
woke.
Not fully woke. He's like the complete opposite of woke. He's like totally compliant with being in the sleep of no dreaming.
So the sleep of no dreaming, well, what is that to you as a concept?
The idea that you'd put aside your ideas of what you want your life to actually be and giving it up for making a good living. I think the lyrics are like, he specifically says that he's made a good living by dying. Yeah,
that's interesting. There's always it's always interesting to look at the lyrics in contrast with the way the songs progress and structure. It's something that I probably don't do enough myself, but I really like how he completely changes his vocals as well, not just in the delivery but through the effects that he puts on the chorus as well. The verse chorus dynamic is really great and is probably the kind of highlight of the whole thing. The hanging kind of drowned vocals that linger in the post-chorus is a nice little touch that I wanted to highlight as well. I really love that. It really fills the atmosphere. It's just a very subtle thing, but it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the song's really nice.
I hadn't listened to this album before, Signify,
Good. I hoped you
and
hadn't.
like I know a lot of their bigger albums and their bigger songs, but I'm not like the biggest Porcupine Tree fan. And I haven't actually listened to them for ages. And I feel like over that time I've gone off Steven Wilson a little bit. I like the organ and like the loose sounding drumming at the beginning. Like it all sounds kind of, like you said, relaxed sounding, I guess, the verses. But like Steven Wilson's voice, man. Like it just doesn't do much for me on this song, personally.
No, I kind of know what you mean. Like, one thing about Steven Wilson is that I never feel emotionally invested in him, really.
Exactly. I find it hard to engage with the lyrics sometimes when they sound so like stiff.
Yeah, he has a kind of cold delivery in a sense. But I know what you mean. I get that a lot with Wilson, like a lack of kind of emotional connection.
Yeah, just the lack of it's just like not dynamic or like interesting. Once you've heard him sing in one song, I feel like you've heard him sing in every song.
As a Wilson fan, I could totally understand what you guys are saying. It doesn't have that same kind of disinteresting effect on me.
That's fair enough, yeah. It's rare that I feel like his songs would be worse off with a better singer. Like, a lot of the time I feel like if there was someone like amazing singing this song, like it would just be better off.
Right.
I was kind of underwhelmed by the chorus. And I feel like that's mainly to do with the production. I feel like it should sound like grand and like thick and like, I don't know, like something big and major, but like it all sounds too calculated and neat to me.
Right.
And I feel like that's just part of the Porcupine Tree Steven Wilson trademark sound. Like everything sounds perfectly laid out. A bit I liked towards the ending of The Sleep of No Dreaming was how it gets all like dramatic and like it sounds something from like 28 Days Later or something. It sounds like dramatic and like some like not horrible but like traumatic event or something. I don't know. Like it just sounds really serious and.
So you wish the choruses were a bit more like that throughout the entire song?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I'd like it more. I don't know. And then I thought the ending was just a bit dead as well, because it all kind of builded, and then it just and then it was just gone.
When I was listening to it, I was like, because I know that you're not a like huge Porcupine Tree fan. You haven't like gone through their discography or anything.
No, yeah.
So I kind of assumed you hadn't heard it, and I was like, I don't think he's gonna like this. Like it's quite
like sometimes I like it on songs like Trains and that. Like I do like some Porcupine Tree, but maybe I've gone off them. Like I don't know.
So, like Shakeel said, I do like the kind of stark contrast between the chorus and verses, in that the verses seem to plod along at this kind of slow, almost dazed kind of pace, achieved mainly by the kind of slow drum and bass and Wilson's vocal delivery. The guitar work and keyboards laid on top, which sounded kind of dreamy to me, similar to the intro when they used the chimes. And I feel like this plot really captures like how the protagonist might be feeling, in that he's just becoming more and more lackadaisical. I think my favourite lyric in this is made a good living by dying it's true as the world in my TV leaks onto my shoes, because I really like that kind of horrifying image of the TV actually coming to life. It brought up images of the Ring, actually. And I think this album might have my favourite guitar tone that Porcupine Tree have ever used, in which like the guitar kind of really cuts through the entire track. It sounds kind of heavy, but not like in a doom metal kind of way. It just sounds kind of sinister as well.
okay.
Yeah, I really like this track, and Signify is one of the better Porcupine Tree albums.
Signify is cool because it's kind of different from everything else. It definitely has its problems. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Some of the ambient tracks are directionless.
Yeah, some of the experiments just don't go off well, really. Yeah, it's like but it's cool that he tried new stuff, and it's still a pretty good album. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you everybody for listening. If you listen to the songs, what did you think of them? What you guys been listening to lately? Please let us know. If you want to check out the playlist, has all the weekly selections since we first did this, and if you want to listen to the tracks, all of that will be in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, thumbs up, share on social media, and have a great day. Bye-bye.